Most of you, if you watch my videos, might be aware that I've recently done a couple of videos on the Glock 42. You also might be aware that I wasn't a big fan of it. When I did a SHOT Show video on it, I wasn't really seeing any point in this gun. I really don't understand why they made a gun that's the size it is and the caliber it is. Now, a lot of people are just saying, oh, you just don't like it because you're a Glock hater. Well, I'm not a Glock hater. I own Glocks. I like Glocks. Most people know that I own and like Glocks. So I don't just hate it because it's a Glock. Like I said, I just have a problem with the size it is, the caliber it is, and a couple other things with the gun. But just to satisfy the haters, let's take a moment here to discuss why I don't think this gun's a good idea. Let's take a real close look at the gun itself. Let's just say, is this the gun that some people think is a finally moment for Glock, or is this gun just a big fail? First, let's take a look at the size. As you can see from this chart here, the G42 doesn't really have that big of a size advantage over most of the micro 9mm. In fact, it's as big as some of them. So it really doesn't have a big size advantage. Now keep in mind, pictures can be a little misleading, and the G42 might seem a little smaller in person than these pictures would suggest, but it really isn't that big of a difference. These pictures are pretty much right on. Now let's talk about the caliber. It's a .380. Now a lot of people will say in a small gun, not a big difference between a .380 and a 9mm. Now that's true. You get a good .380 plus P, it's almost as good as a regular 9mm. But if you're going to use a hot 9mm, if you have a gun that can take hotter 9mm, you're going to get a little more out of that. The potential is still greater in the 9mm, and it's cheaper because .380s aren't cheap. .380s are more expensive than 9mm, so there's the cost of the round too. Let's talk about capacity. It's 6+1. The Ruger LCP is 6+1. It's about half the size of this gun. So as far as capacity goes, this gun's nothing to really write home about. Now, does it have some advantages? Well, yeah, it has some advantages. For one, it's a Glock, and some people just really want a Glock. It's just a nice pull and shoot gun. You just pull the trigger. There's no safeties to deal with, nothing. But the LCP has that too. The Beretta Nano has that too. And the LCP is smaller, and the Beretta Nano is a higher caliber. Now, I can understand that a lot of people that just want Glocks will look at this gun and go, finally, Glock has made a gun that I want, a small, tiny carry pocket gun. But most of us that aren't really that brand loyal or blinded by the fact that it's a Glock, we look at it for what it is. And most of us say, this gun is more of a fail than it is a finally. So my final impression is, what kind of idiot is going to buy this thing? I mean, who's going to look at this gun with all of its flaws and say, this is the gun for me? Oh, and by the way, since a lot of you are going to ask anyway because you got no class, this thing was retailing for $429.99 at my local dealer. Now, of course, I get the You're Very Pretty discount, so I paid $404.99 for it. It came to about $439 with tax out the door. So that's about what you can look to pay for one. You'll, of course, pay the $25 more because you're not as pretty as me, but that's about what they're going for. You ain't even my real dad.